Okay, so we have our first look at the upcoming DC show Lanterns, and this is starring Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pereira. As this is gonna have these two gonna be teaming up as these intergalactic cops, as we are introduced to Hal Jordan and John Stewart, and this is sort of like a forming of like a detective crime story. And we have not only our first look at footage, especially even though it was short, but even for what to expect as we're about to head into the show. And I think that this has the potential to be a great Green Lantern story as we see it right now. And so let's waste any time. I'm gonna break this down right now. And so if you're new, then be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so we'll see on any future videos. But now let's hop right into it. And so, for where this is coming from, it is actually from a sizzle reel that HBO put out that is highlighting their upcoming shows releasing next year in 2026 to HBO Max. And a part of that reel, it is actually our first look at the upcoming Lantern series from DC. And especially as I know of, I think this has to be a great look at the show yet, especially ever since that first look image of Hal Jordan and John Stewart that was released way back at the beginning of the year. But now just to see our first look at footage, but even though it is not like a full-on teaser, it is only like 11 seconds of footage, but still it is our first look teaser at what the show is actually going to be like, how it's going to feel like a real DC Green Lantern story. And I think it looks absolutely good, and especially as we do not get much, but even though that day we were supposed to be expecting a trailer. I mean, that's what HBO teased that day, but they kind of like trolled everyone to think that it will. But now, I mean, this first look did deliver on such a great promise for what the show has the potential to be. And now, especially with this footage that I'm going to break down, is that especially from how Jordan and John Stewart are going to actually be working together, especially as we all know that Hal Jordan is the strongest Green Lantern, and he's going to be recruiting John Stewart to be going with him on a sort of like mission to like uncover like a murder mystery, a sort of like intergalactic cops, and especially this is being taking place on Earth. And it's sort of at like a true detective level type of series, which I totally adore for what DC is going to do. And even though that this is not like a full-on trailer, because, and even as we know of right now, we don't have a set in stone release date for Lanterns, even though it's set to come out next year in 2026, but we don't have a set in stone date. But especially for what they announced, it's going to be releasing by the end of summer 2026, but again, we don't have a set in stone date. And even with the first look at footage that we have here is coming from John Stewart, saying, "I've been training my entire life for this," and then how Jordan replies by saying, "You're not ready to get up in front of the class until the ring says you are." And where all these shots are coming from, it seems like at different points during the show for where the plot and the storyline is going to take the both of them as they're going to solve this true crime murder story. And I think this, the theme and the tone, and I think this definitely won me over, especially for how Jordan and John Stewart are going to work together, especially for what they're going to adapt from DC Comics. And I think for the source material and for what it's going to adapt within the show, and for what James Gunn knows everything about Green Lantern. And I think I am super excited for what Aaron Pereira is going to deliver, especially for when he does become like the Green Lantern, and even for what how Jordan has to have in his power as the actual strongest Green Lantern, and him to actually lecture him, and to with them actually working together. And I think this does have great sides of it being a great show. And then we see how putting the ring onto the dashboard, and then he suddenly leaps out of the car, leaving John Stewart there, plummeting the car off a cliff. And so that's what it's actually looking like. But again, it's only 11 seconds of footage, and hopefully that sometime by early or mid next year we'll get like a teaser trailer, but then like an actual full trailer. But again, I'm completely sold on it, but especially with people that have like mixed feelings on it. But yeah, it's not like a full teaser, but hey, I get it, but I think it was definitely too soon to release a full-on trailer, but hey, at least with these 11 seconds that we got, I'm pretty sure this is going to be a great DC show. And especially for what DC's putting out next year. So we have a Supergirl and Clayface and what everything that James Gunn is adapting from his slate. And I think I am super very excited for what's to come as well. And how the show is going to feel like coming from the DC universe, and even towards like at the end of that show, I think there's some great potential for what's gonna happen to how Jordan and John Stewart, for how these two are gonna be working together in the near future. Are they gonna be teaming up, or are we gonna see anything coming from the source material coming into their world? There's a lot of potential for what the Lantern show can do, and I think Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pereira are gonna nail their performances. I think this show is already climbing to the top of my list for most anticipated shows for 2026, and I think I'll definitely be tuned in from day one. But I have to say, like, even though people still have a slightly mixed reaction about just how the show feels, and I think with just the different feel and like how James Gunn is going to give his take on Green Lantern, and I think for how Jordan is going to adapt it from the character alone, and I think it is going to be pretty dang good. It's going to be really, really fantastic. So I think I'm already sold on this first look footage, but yeah, this has the greatest potential ever to be a great DC show, and I hope it sticks that way, especially from the tone of everything that they're going with. And yeah, I'm just really sold. And I guess for my final thoughts is I'm in love with this first look footage at Lanterns, and I'll be tuned into the show. But even though we don't have a set in stone release date, but I think we will sometime next year. But hey, at least this is what we get, and I can't wait to see the show when it officially comes out. And I think there's gonna be great performances, great comic lore, and so on and so forth. And I just can't wait for it as well. So yeah, I'll definitely be tuned in. But that's gonna do it for this video. Just let me know in the comments down below how excited you are for Lanterns based on the first look footage and this teaser, and what is your anticipation level for the show. Just let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe and turn on notifications for future videos. Also follow all my social medias all linked down below. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.